And this is episode 1 of the ledgerscale Internet of Value focus topic. Now, ledgerscale Foundation was founded with 2 goals in mind. 1, we want to provide educational services to not only our community, but to scale up the number of brains that understand how distributed ledger technology works. And 2, we intend to one day run hardware to provide infrastructural support to the distributed ledger technology networks that we believe are ESG friendly and running a form of decentralized consensus. We host these spaces Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, starting at 3:30 Eastern Standard Time, and we typically keep them around 2 hours. And on Wednesday, we host a 5 to 6 Eastern Standard Time space, which is the focus topic. And the topic we're going to be speaking about today is going to be payment channels. And if you could give us a follow on Twitter and a subscribe on YouTube, we're streaming these spaces live on YouTube daily from Twitter. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who watches our content and subscribes.
Yeah, so we're basically here to engage the community. So please, if anybody has a question, raise your hand. If you're curious about something, particularly today around payment channels, I'm sure somebody else is probably curious about the same thing. So this isn't entirely an open forum, but it still is a little bit. But please, just if you come up to speak, be cordial and welcome to the space.
Right. And I know this is a topic that you particularly like, I think almost as much as the trust line. So I'll let you take the lead, Karma.
Yeah, I mean, in a real sense, I think of payment channels as kind of like a method of doing trust lines cross ledger, right? So when you start talking Internet of Value, obviously you have to connect multiple ledgers. In some sense, the I always get this mixed up, but it's like nostro vostro. One means I put money with you, the other means you put money with me. But when you do a payment channel, you do actually have to. Well, it only works with XRP, first off. So you do have to put some value, denominated in XRP, into the payment channel, right? And then this is what allows like a coil to do the micro payments and the streaming payments and everything. And so you don't actually solve the pre-funding requirement problem through payment channels, just to get the dirty stuff out up front. So, when you hear like the Ripple team make the pitch about, no pre-funding and whatnot, with payment channels, you have to pre-fund. But what payment channels enable is this cross-ledger transaction. I mean, it's really, I kind of view a payment channel like a inter-ledger trust line, almost. I mean, and there's a lot of parallels to the Lightning Network. That's, both payment channels and Lightning Network more or less came about at roughly the same time. And you have to pre-fund them. I mean, it's not a, like with trust lines, you're kind of creating credit, right? So you're creating more or less value out of nothing. Because like if you trust me for $10, then I can send you a issued token for $10, and where'd that come from? Nowhere, right? But with a payment channel, you have to pre-fund it. So you have to actually put the XRP in the payment channel. Then what happens is you can have like an interledger protocol connector, which in some sense Coil is, but there's a few others. Finbos is working on this. And that's how you get the internet. That's how you like stitch the Internet of Value together. And I'm not an expert on Lightning Network, but I believe the fundamentals are effectively the same. It's just it's I don't know where we want to go with this, but um, hold on. Let me post this thing to the top. I just tweeted it so I could post it. This was a conversation I had a few years ago. I don't know if anybody knows Circrum, but I was trying to explain the sort of network topology type stuff about how important these payment channels are. Because it's I mean, if you want to build an internet of value, hang on one second. Let's see if I can post this up here. Okay, here we go. Why is that not doing that? Hold on. There's some good. There's a conversation that we had a long couple of years ago. When all this stuff first started happening or getting, put out. Here we go. Why didn't it let me share the space?
Is it like a block tweet? That was it. Was it like a block tweet or something?
No, it was. I
Perhaps.
just retweeted it. It's the simplifying the ILP, the graveyard of because they went through multiple iterations of like how to get this done, right? So finally, they came up on a you had to boil it down at some point. Why is it? I don't know why this isn't letting me just share it to the space. Uh, oh, it's because I'm using two different devices. Hang on one second. Let me try it on here.
Yeah, you could send it to me as a message, and I can. It's on the Interledger Protocol Twitter.
Wait, no, I think I got it. Yep, there it goes. Okay. So that should be up top. That's a oh, I forget who wrote that. Was it Stefan? This was after, I mean, there was a whole bunch of batting this stuff back and forth, right? On like, do you do it this way? Do you do it that way? There's a lot of analogies to like the internet and like how the internet works. But I shared a particular comment that I made. It was Evan Schwartz. It's a really good read. I mean, I know it's a little bit old, but the fundamentals don't change. So, and this goes into that chat there when we got into like the difference between universal and atomic settlement, um, which is important to know the difference there. Um, it seems like atomic settlement's probably going to win out, but I'm actually kind of a proponent of universal settlement. Uh, Gosh, it's been a while since I looked at some of this stuff. This is a great read, though. If you really want to have a decent clue, read this article. And I know it looks like it's about 4 years old, but it's very, very great article, and it really explains not only some of the technical stuff, but how the like one of the cool things anyway to me with interledger protocol is that it leaves open an economic opportunity for for the connector role, which is effectively a market maker, liquidity provider, what have you. um and so like that matches reality, right? um and the payment channels are how. So if you're a connector and I'm a connector, right? I might have a this mimics the Nostro Vostro actually. Um, so you put some money in a payment channel, I put some money in a payment channel. We can swap receipts back and forth as quick as we can possibly communicate with each other. So you're not waiting on some blockchain for 3 seconds. Like, screw 3 seconds. I can send you a message real quick with a receipt. Boom. Now your application can go ahead and authorize your customer, right? Instantly, as fast as we can possibly communicate. That's where the payment channels come in, and then I'm good for the money because it's escrowed, or not escrowed. It's locked in the payment channel. Escrow is a different feature, and business, you can just move on, right? Like, you're not thinking about this anymore. I don't know if anybody has any other questions. It's if you want to get into so thinking of the internet of value from like a complexity point of view, and like the nodes and the edges and all this stuff, the payment channels are kind of like edges, like they're connection points that enable a connector, like a market maker, to connect like if a market maker is connecting with, say, a payment channel, and like, I don't know what they call them on Lightning Network, but it's the same thing basically.
A hub. They call them lightning hubs.
Okay, well, the hub is probably the connector.
Yes, correct.
But what do they call because payment channels and Lightning came around about the same time. What do they call the thing with Lightning?
Sorry, what do you mean?
Well, you have to escrow. I mean, it's the same principles. You have to escrow some value, although I think Lightning uses Bitcoin. But I think that, I mean, you have to put the money into they might even call them channels. I don't know what the hell they call them.
They are, yeah, they're payment channels. It has to be pre-funded.
Yeah, so same principles apply.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can do this is what enables, I guess, payment channels kind of are a foundational function that you need in order to do like interledger protocol, which you need in order to build like an internet of value. So that's how important they are. They weren't around initially. They didn't exist. So I should probably share this article from Evan. As well. Hang on a second. Let me do that. Because this is when the whole payment channels thing came down to like, it was settled, basically. Right? Like the specs and whatnot were debated, for what, a year or so. And then finally you just got to make a decision. Like, here's how this is going to work. I think that decision around was a little I mean, it was about integration with interledger protocol. I'm bumbling here, so if someone else wants to speak up, that's fine. But it's if you think about the payment channels, they really are more or less functioning as cross ledger trust lines. That's sort of how I think about them.
Yeah, I think that's the prime use case behind why they would be used. And we have two people that want to come up. Carmen, do you want to keep going for a little bit, or would you like to invite some people up?
Yeah. Let's bring people up. That's good.
Awesome. And if you guys could, if you could at the bottom right, that little plus sign, if you could hit it and just give us a retweet to get more attention to the space. We're doing these Monday through Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, from 3 to 5 p.m. Typically keeping it around a 2 hour space, 3:30. I mean, sorry. And on Wednesdays, we're starting at 5 to 6, where we're doing a specific on topic. Is there anything you'd like to add in, Scams? Welcome up.
Oh, I'm on the stage now. Thank you. Yeah, I had my hand raised for a little bit, but no, I raised my hand when Karma was asking about Lightning. Yeah, they're just called channels as well. Not even payment channels, just channels. And essentially, yeah, they only work off of well, Bitcoin on the Bitcoin network, but Litecoin could technically be on Lightning as well. Nobody really uses it. But then you can only have Lightning payment channels with Litecoin in it, right? So they'd be distinctly different. And then what happens is you're right, they are pre-funded, if you will, and locked up in a multi-sig, a 2-2 multi-sig. So it works very similar to the way XRP does it today for payment channels as well. Essentially, is what happens is when you say swapping receipts, is what you're actually swapping between each other is signatures. So because it's a 2-2 multi-sig, you have to remember how multi-sigs work, right? Your numerator is how many signatures you need, and your denominator is how many signatures there are total in the schema. So some people do 2 or 3 multi-signatures, meaning that there's 3 different signatures or wallets out there and 2 have to sign it. But Lightning works off of 2 of 2. So it means both parties in the payment channel have to sign a particular transaction. So when you're changing receipts, is what you're essentially doing is you're saying, like, let's say we opened up a 1 million XRP or Satoshi payment channel to each other, whatever it is, right? And then there's 500,000 on your side, 500,000 on my side, but I buy something for 50,000. So now there's going to be 550,000 on your side, 450,000 on my side. We're both signing a transaction that could be published to the main layer 1 chain of the network, saying that in this transaction, pay this address, which is an address you control, 550,000, and an address I control, 450,000, that either one of us could publish at either time and go back onto the main network. So the way funds are transmitted through these channels is essentially by signing updated transactions that either party has a copy to and could publish to the main chain to reclaim their coins on the main chain. So that's why they don't need to be validated on either network, because either one at any time can choose to publish it to the network, and it's a valid transaction because we both signed the 2-2 agreement, and then you can reclaim your funds. But until then, you can keep pushing. Actually, with XRP, I have to look into it. I know a lot of the channels are omnidirectional, right? Like I think in Lightning it's bidirectional, and in XRP it might actually be omnidirectional, only one direction.
Yeah, payment channels are one direction. Like, let's say I want to set up a payment channel. Death and I have a business relationship, and he's going to send me or perform some API calls for my business, and I want to pay him for that, right? So I send him the receipts. He can claim those receipts at any time on the layer 1 XRPL. And whenever at his prerogative and whenever he wants, and yeah, it goes that way. Now you'd have to set up a separate one if he was going to pay me, right? He would have to fund or put some XRP into a payment channel, and then he could send me receipts back, right? But the fact is, these funds are these transactions are effectively settled. Like when I send him the receipt, he knows the money's there, but it is pre-funded.
Right,
Unlike
right,
trust
right.
lines, payment channels are pre-funded.
Yeah, yeah. So it's the same thing in Bitcoin Lightning, except they're bi-directional. So like you can send the money back the other way and do it an unlimited amount of times both directions, but they're pre-funded, and you could both claim the money on chain at any time you want.
Well, I didn't realize that Lightning was bi-directional. I'm not sure what I think about that, to be honest. I think that adds some complexity, like not complexity, like network type complexity. But I think that adds some complexity in terms of business logic. Like payment channels are pretty straightforward. And then the other thing is, I don't know if we want to go there, but you've got universal and atomic mode. But I mean, think of, okay, so I'd like to draw a vision in people's mind, right? Think of an internet of value. And you've got an XRP ledger sitting there. Okay, that's one sort of node in the network, the network of networks, right? The internet of value. Uh, uh, and then you've got the connectors. Okay, they sit in between the ledgers, and then it's really truly very similar to the correspondent banking network, right? You've got a bunch of people that have pre-funded payment channels, and that enables them to transact as fast as they can possibly communicate receipts to each other, which are very light, data loads, so that can be done quickly. And I don't know if I can. I see it in my head. I'm hoping through this conversation I can maybe help other folks kind of see it. But this is what one of the methods or like mechanisms, like from a mechanical point of view, that helps stitch the internet of value together. Like this is it's one of these little things that's kind of like actually super important. Most people are never going to use a payment channel, but the people who are practitioners, who are providing liquidity and running connectors, market makers, liquidity providers, bridges, whatever freaking term you want to use, like they will likely use this this feature of the ledger. Yeah, and I don't know if anybody else wants to come up. If you check that tweet out that I put up top, I mean, I know that is also a couple of years old, but it's still like it was a comment that I made a few years ago, and it's still valid. I mean, this and there's some graphs in there that show you how the connectors and the ledgers and how all the I mean, it's a actually had to I had a hard time finding it. I remember making the post, but then what? MDuo13, I think he works for Ripple, responded. Hold on, I'm just looking through this.
Matt, is there any questions you have? That I know you came up. And welcome.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was just wondering where I've been looking at the fintech of Glint Pay. Glint Pay. Have you heard of it?
Oh yeah, I'm interested in that that GoPay, but we're trying to. I guess I guess you kind of could think that they're kind of using payment channels in a sense, right? Because
Yeah,
you could
got
use multiple
transport.
different apps from their card that they charge, but we're trying to keep on more of an on topic today for the Wednesday chat. We're just specifically just trying to talk about payment channels today.
Okay.
But I do know of GoPay. I find it interesting.
There's certainly using.
Yeah, just mostly like payment channels, Internet of Value. How do these payment channels help support and enable effectively the creation of an Internet of Value? Um, that's kind of what we're trying to focus on today. And so, I mean, if anybody's got any questions, I'm not really sure what else to. I think I've kind of explained it. I'm sure I'm leaving something out.
Well, let's maybe we should talk about real world use cases. Why would some people benefit from, and maybe from a business standpoint, would they want to use channels? Would they benefit from being maybe the in between of the payment channels as well, of the blockchains, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the connector market maker, liquidity provider role. So a liquidity provider might have, like, say I was a liquidity provider, and I had maybe 3 business partners that I had a relationship with that could, pay out. Liquidity providers, not even. I think of it from a business point of view, man. It's like with my other company, I pay half a penny, quarter penny. I mean, these are minuscule amounts, but I have to give them, say $100 to float quarter penny payments, right? So I could put that that $100 in a payment channel and just like I still have the $100, right? Like I can close the payment channel. The receipts can be cashed in whenever, but it's not like I gave my supplier the $100. Like I put the $100 in a payment channel that's tied to my account. So it's still my $100. I send them receipts for what I owe them, right? They can cash those in whenever. They know I'm good for the money because it locked up in the payment channel. That's kind of how I think about it. And then think about how many API companies there are out there. I mean, this is how the internet works. So I think it's a really important thing. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to like overstate it, but this is how you connect different people. You create it's another mechanism. That's why I say it's kind of similar to trust lines, but not like pre-funded trust lines almost, because it's a method of creating trust. When I give you a receipt that I'm good for it. Like there's trust creation there. I mean, so you can also make an analogy for market makers, liquidity providers as well. But just think of it from a regular business point of view.
Well, it makes a lot of sense. So, if you're already acting as a liquidity provider, right? I mean, it's essentially it's a role that they could play. It's more of a to create more of a revenue stream for themselves.
Yeah, just like Glint.
I mean, whoever put the value into the payment channel is providing the liquidity. But the payment channel enables, from a technical point of view, enables me to like only send a quarter of a penny to my supplier at a time. So I'm not giving my supplier $100. I'm putting $100 in a payment channel attached to my account that I control. right? And then I send my supplier a quarter of a penny at a time whenever the supplier performs something that I asked them to do. That's a different situation than I send the $100 to my supplier and they hang on to it, right? And they deduct a quarter of a penny at a time, like per API call. So it flips that around, which I think is good. I'd rather have the $100 in a payment channel that is attached to my account that I control. But the fact is, I have to actually give them the $100 up front, and then we just basically like I have a credit with them. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, listen, if anybody has any questions, if you'd like to come up and speak on the topic, please, feel free to hit that request at the bottom left there. And and if you could also at the bottom right, if you could hit that retweet, just to bring more attention to the space.
Karma, I have a question. So, I mean, I'm just trying to think this through between the difference of XRP payment channels and Bitcoin payment channels. And the two differences I see is that, one, the Bitcoin ones are bi-directional. So if there were a case where funds needed to be sent back the other way, like let's say a refund, right? Like you pay a supplier or you pay whoever. Sometimes things need to be charged back the other direction, right? It has the ability to do that. But then in addition, it also has the routing ability that if you don't have a channel with your direct partner, but let's say I was trying to get 50 units, whatever it is, to Death, and I had a payment channel with you, and you had a payment channel with Death, essentially you could then forward that 50 to Death for me on the Bitcoin channel network, and essentially I think that and you have the right to charge a fee or not. You don't have to. Like you could say anything I send to Death, I'm going to do it for free. And I just send you 50 and you send him 50. Or you can say, I want 52 for doing that, right? And then essentially you're getting 4% on the transaction, maybe only 51 for 2%. And then I pay you 51 and then you send Death 50 and keep one for yourself. So it has that ability to do multi-hops. It doesn't have to be two, by the way. It could be like 3, 4, 5. So I see that I don't think the XRP payment channel has the ability to do that. And then also the bi-directionality of it in case we need to go the first direction. So just wanted to hear your thoughts on like those differences and the two.
No, I don't. You're not gonna get the advantages of pathfinding through a payment channel. That's not, payment channels don't invoke that functionality set from the ledger. So if I set a payment channel and I send Death a receipt to make a claim on that payment channel, that's, it's up to Death whenever he wants to make that claim. He could stack up, 100 claims and then just do them all at once. So he's only paying one transaction fee. You also, nobody gets charged a fee on the payment channel. It's not like this is actually, so my whole like how Xpool and how to do loans and stuff was essentially based to some degree, to a significant degree, on payment channels, right? Because if, say, XRP, like think of the line of credit offering that that Ripple has. If Ripple wants to loan me some XRP, let's say I run an exchange and I have reason to borrow XRP to service my clients. Ripple can put some XRP into a payment channel, make that available to me. They're not giving it to me, right? The payment channel is on their account. So it's not like because one of the problems when you start thinking about how to do loans with crypto is if I send you, it doesn't matter which crypto it is, if I send you a digital asset, and I just, what am I just going to like trust you to like send me back interest payments and the principal at some point. Like that's an unacceptable. It's not good. Versus, you put the money in a payment channel, it's still on my account. And then I issue you receipts, and you can claim them whenever you want. So you can do sort of a clearing and batch settlement process, which there's advantages to that. But no, I don't think payment channels, I'm 99% sure payment channels do not invoke pathfinding at all. It's me sending a receipt to Death. Death knows that I'm good for the money because it's in the payment channel. I'm not actually sure if I could close the payment channel before he cashed in the receipts. I should double check that. I'm pretty sure there's got to be a way that can't happen. I'm just not sure exactly how that can't happen, but that's not. If I send a receipt, that's a good question, actually. I'll have to double check that one.
Right. So I think that everything you mentioned, for the most part, is similar, is what I was saying, to the XRP payment channels and Bitcoin payment channels. The only difference is that receipt part. Once you check up on it, within like a Bitcoin payment channel, once you send it to somebody, there's no like accepting or not accepting it. It comes through. But essentially, the thing I was interested in was, do you think that essentially these compete with each other, right? The XRP payment channels and Bitcoin payment channels, because they have a lot of similarities in the way they work. But on the two things that I observe as a difference is that in Bitcoin payment channels, it's bi-directional, and that could come into to be something that's useful when you want to send funds the other direction, again, in terms of like a chargeback or a refund or an overcharge or something like that, or maybe you become their customer, right? And the other thing is the routing, right? So like in the Bitcoin ones, you don't need to be directly connected to somebody. In XRP, you need to be directly connected to somebody. If I want to send Death money through a payment channel, I have to have one open to him. If I want to send you money through a payment channel, I have to have one open to you. But if I want to send Death money and I don't have a payment channel open to him on the Bitcoin payment channels, but I have one open to you and you have one open to Death, you could route that for me and send it there and choose to take a fee or not take a fee. It's not the protocol taking it. It's your choice. You could do it for free, or you can make some money off of it because you're providing liquidity to Death for other people in the market. So I was just wondering what your thoughts were in terms of those differences, and if you think they're like important or they matter or they're good or they're bad, or XRP should adopt some of those, or whatever it is.
The bidirectionality, it's going to add some complications. It's not a bad thing, but I don't think it's like with interledger protocol and payment channels. It's just I think the reality is okay. So like technology basically mirrors reality. So I think that the reality of the world, the way the world works, is the way that these payment channels are designed. Like if you and I are banks, we can. But I mean, this is the same architecture as a Nostro Vostro setup. I can set up a payment channel. You can set up a payment channel. I can send you claims on my payment channel. You can send me claims on your payment channel. I don't know what advantages the bidirectionality. That's like, how can it's either my value in the payment channel that's attached to my account that I'm in control of. Okay, that makes sense to me. Bidirectionality, like what is it? My value, but like you have a say? You shouldn't have a say. This is my money.
No, I mean, just like any account, right? If you think of a traditional account, Nostro and Vostro accounts are just traditional accounts. It's all it just means is, my money at your bank, your money at my bank, and so forth, right? Essentially, they are bi-directional, right? You have debits and credits in an account, right? So, like, if you're working with a particular, vendor or whatever it is, and you're normally, having your account reduced because you're paying them, yeah, normally your flows are that direction. But if you needed a refund, right, and they wrote you a check or sent an ACH transfer in reverse because of you realized a bunch of your invoices
But
you were overcharged.
you can do a refund by simply not cashing that receipt,
If it's caught
right?
that way, right? I mean, it could be an audit of the books after the fact, and they send you money back. So just one account is bi-directional by nature, right?
No, payment channels go one way. I put the money in the payment channel. I
XRP
send you
payment
the
channels
receipt.
go one way. I'm just talking about a normal bank account now, and in contrast to the Bitcoin payment channels, which are bidirectional. But XRP payment channels are one directional. I think that's the point I was just trying to get to. The fact that they're one directional, but you were making the comparison to traditional finance. But traditional finance, a regular bank account is bidirectional because there's debits and credits. You can send money out of it to somebody in the form of a check or an ACH, and they can also send money into it, right? So they're bidirectional. The Bitcoin ones are bidirectional. I personally feel XRP payment channels should be bidirectional as well, and not one direction, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I think that would be depending on the whoever is acting or whatever protocol is acting as the payment channel, right? I think when you're saying XRP's payment channels, you're referring to trust lines, right?
No, payment channels are separate.
Yeah, payment channels are definitely different. You just set a payment channel back if you wanted to. Like I could set a payment channel with you. You could set a
You
payment
could.
channel with me.
You
In some
could.
sense, that's why I make
Yes,
the
you could.
analogy to trust lines, because like I could trust you. That means I'll accept your liabilities. Um, you could trust me. That means you'll accept my liabilities. But those are two separate transactions. But you can do credit creation through trust lines. There's no credit creation with payment channels, so you can actually have settlement, which is important. Like if I'm, you know, let's flip the script and I'm now the API provider and I want to make sure that I'm collecting from my customer, right? Like I don't want to give somebody service and not get paid. Um, when I get a payment channel receipt, like I know I'm getting paid. Versus when I get a trust line issued asset, I'm still trusting you're good for it. And you probably are, but
Right. 100%.
I'm trusting. There's no trust with the payment channel.
Right.
The value is there. So that's but that brings in the pre-funding part. So which is a detriment, in terms of capital efficiency. Because now you're introducing the same problems that in terms of like capital. I don't really consider it dead capital, but people talk about it like that. The dead capital for Nostro Vostro accounts, like you're reintroducing these same mechanisms.
I don't see it as dead capital either, but you have to realize is what it essentially is collateral, right?
Yeah.
And you keep talking about trust. I mean, what removes trust from a relationship is collateral, right? Because you got shit on the line at the end of the day, right? Oh, excuse my language. I'm sorry. But you have something on the line at the end of the day when you have collateral, right? Otherwise, as you mentioned in a trust line, it's literally built into the name. It's just trust, right? So you're not exchanging collateral, you're exchanging trust for an IOU. That's what they're also called, right? Is IOUs essentially. And that's very different and comes with a different risk set. And usually the way it works in capital markets is I'm sure you can attest to, Karma, is that when you assume more trust, you expect more in return, right? So charging a higher interest rate, whatever it may be. So they're completely different models, and everybody has to assess for whatever business that they're doing is what's the best model for their business given their risk tolerance and given their other capital demands.
I just want to interrupt for a second. I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming out today, and that comes out to these spaces. Obviously, we wouldn't be doing these if it wasn't for everybody finding them valuable every day. And if you could give us a follow on Twitter, and if you could retweet the space at the bottom right, as well as give us a subscribe on YouTube, because we are streaming these live Monday through Friday from Twitter to YouTube.
Yeah, and also everyone, I mean, we do try and run these as an open forum. So if anybody has a question, please just raise your hand. And if you're listening on YouTube, you want to participate, you can join the chats on Twitter Live. We're at ledgerscale. And this is an all volunteer effort at the current moment. So we're operating as a nonprofit foundation. So if you'd like to support our continued efforts, you can donate. We have a few crypto addresses pinned to the top of our Twitter profile, and then we're working on some other methods as well that aren't quite wrapped up yet. But yeah, we appreciate everybody joining, and I hope you guys I genuinely hope you guys get some value out of these conversations. We will be doing some more kind of scripted curriculum type content. It's in the works. But for now, we're starting with the chats, and I think it's good, community engagement, right? Let people speak up, and I think that's important. We get to learn what people are curious about, and then we can kind of cover that.
Oh, I think you got some feedback there, Matt.
I just want to know, our gold is on the XRP ledger. Works. Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little different than, it's not payment channels related, but yeah, basically you have, say, a gold mining company, and for an ounce of gold on Ledger.
We're talking 3-second settlement.
I didn't understand what that meant.
4-second settlement.
Death, did that make sense to you?
Yeah. I mean, is what he's trying to talk about is the fact that you're tokenizing the gold, and you can move it to somebody else, a gold token, very quickly. But I think it goes back to what Karma explained earlier. It involves trust, right? This is an IOU, and as what a company is saying is that, like, okay, I mined a million ounces of gold, so I'm going to make a million IOU tokens on the XRPL, okay, and each token equals 1 ounce of gold. So theoretically, each one of those tokens should actually trade pretty closely in line with an ounce of gold on the COMEX or any other commodity trading platform. The thing is it may vary slightly based on the trust element of it, right? So what would happen is it would settle in 4 seconds if you wanted to send it to somebody else. Like if Karma was going to send you, some other asset, or on the XRPL, USD that was tokenized through some sort of a gateway like Bitstamp, you could make that trade and it would get to him in 4 seconds. The thing is there's still trust involved, right? You have to trust that those million ounces of gold are really being reserved for those million tokens. How do you know they didn't sell half of it and only have 500,000 ounces of gold? Like, are they doing audits? Is somebody showing it to you? Are they taking pictures? Are those pictures real? Are those gold bars? Did you touch them? Did you test them? At the end of the day, there's a trust element involved there. So if they did have, let's say, theoretically, some sort of an auditor that came in every 2 weeks, and you could actually trust them because they have a big reputation on the line, they're one of the top 4 firms, maybe it's KPMG, and they check, yes, 1 million ounces of gold bars are in this vault, and we weighed them and we tested a random sample of them, and they're absolutely here, then you could be able to trust that asset and it should trade in line with it. And this is the whole theory of what goes on behind Tether, right? Tether's supposed to have 100% backed in dollars, and people are saying they don't. So, like, should the peg be at $1? Should it not? Same thing would happen with an IOU of gold. It may not hold the same value because people may start to trust they don't have that gold anymore. But it's just trust saying, I promise these 1 million tokens represent 1 million ounces of gold. And then, yes, they can move at 4 seconds, as you're mentioning, as they're transferred through the XRPL or anything else, if you trust that it's backed appropriately. I mean, they'll move regardless, but they just may not have the value you think they do attached to it. And that's what cryptocurrencies try to remove, and I try to explain to people a lot, is that bringing physical world assets onto the blockchain is very difficult because you have the asset at the end of the day, and the asset can move according to the protocol rules, but the protocol can't check that the asset really exists and is 100% backed as the claims of the company that issues the asset. And people have to be cautious of that.
Yeah, I agree.
Lady K, you came up. Would you like to ask a question or put some input? Thank you for.
Yeah, I was just kind of curious about the payment channel because I heard like examples of like I send you XRP. Can it be a real world? Like can you open up a payment channel and just say, here's my request, you owe me this amount, and then when they pay it, they get that receipt? Is that how that's going to work?
Basically, yeah. Like let's say I set up a payment channel, and I send and you did a job or performed an API, whatever. You did something that I owe you some money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I send you a receipt. Okay, it could be for because you've got so if you're just staying on layer 1, right? You've got a minimum of 3 seconds to do that. Sometimes, like with my other company in telecom, like I can't wait 3 seconds. Like that's unacceptable. Okay, when I send a message, when the system sends a message, like you need to get the message right now, not in 3 seconds. So you can't wait for that settlement for me to like for me to pay you, for you to perform the task that whatever it is you're doing. Versus I can send you a payment receipt backed up by a payment channel. I can send you that as quick as you and I can possibly communicate. We don't have to wait for this distributed ledger slow thingy to do what. We don't have to worry about that. And so you can go ahead and perform whatever the task is, and you know that you've got paid, right? So then let's say you do multiple tasks, like multiple API calls. We'll just use that as an example. I can send you multiple receipts. Okay, so now you have dozens or 100 receipts, and it's finally worth, because you have to, when you do a on ledger transaction, you have to pay a transaction fee, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if I'm paying you less than the transaction fee? Well, then it's not economically viable. But you can hang on to and pile up these receipts until, you know, that transaction fee is maybe just a small percentage of the total amount of value you're ready to collect. Then you go to the main ledger and you cash in those receipts against the payment channel, and then the XRP moves to your wallet. So it's like it's like a clearing versus settlement thing. So the receipts are basically clearing, right? Like you've cleared we've cleared the transaction between you and me. You did the thing, I paid you. Cool. That doesn't mean you have the money yet. We haven't settled up. But then eventually you're going to settle up and collect all the money from the payment channel.
Well, that's interesting because right now to pay somebody, you just send it to their wallet. But in this case, the person's also accepting it. Like you're sending it, but they're then accepting it.
Yeah, they have to cash in the receipt. So it's very analogous to clearing versus settlement. When I send you the receipts, That's, I don't know if you know the difference between clearing and settlement, but that's basically clearing. No, it's kind of not, but it sort of is. And then the settlement is when you, because what you'll do is I'll send you like receipt 1, receipt 2, receipt 3, receipt 4, receipt 5, receipt 10, and then you'll take receipt 10 and you're going to go to the ledger and say cash me out, right? And so you're going to get all the money from receipt 1 through 10 in one go. Like you're going to do one claim transaction. That'll settle it out. The XRP will move from the payment channel to your wallet, and now it's yours. Right? You always had the claim because you were stacking up the receipts, so you knew you had been paid, right? But you didn't really get the money yet. It's not in your account.
Right.
Then you set them up and you get the money.
Now, is there like some sort of cancel or expiration on that?
No, I don't believe so. I need to double check. I should have done that before this call.
Yeah,
I
payment
don't.
channels do have an expiration you can set.
Well, I don't believe I can, like, let's say I put, say, 100 XRP into a payment channel, and then I send you, 10 XRP receipts. Okay, so you have a claim against the payment channel for 10 XRP. And I don't believe, and I should have double checked this before this call, but I don't believe that I can, like, close out that payment channel without the receipts being cleared. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll double check that and get back to everybody tomorrow. But I don't believe there's a way for me to like screw you, because that's basically like floating a check when you don't have the money in the bank. Like if I send you a bunch of receipts and then I close out the payment channel and then you go to like settle up on the receipts and the payment channel's closed.
Yeah, I was more thinking of it as like a stop payment, kind of. Like you send the receipt, and then when you go to settle or cash in, the terminology that you're using, but it's been canceled. I was kind of curious if that was something that could happen.
I don't believe so. And I'm sorry, I don't know the exact mechanics behind how that's enforced. I should have looked that up.
Well, and if there's a change, because things change all the time, especially if it's like working faster than settlement. I'm kind of curious too, like how you would clean that up if you did want to like pull it back to like resend or something.
Well, my guess, and I'm guessing, so I hope I'm not wrong here, is that I probably can't close the payment channel until all the receipts that have been sent are cashed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing that's how it works. I need to double check this.
Yeah, I think you are right, Karma. But there is also a time element. If they're all cached, the payment channels could be set to close by. And that's specific to XRP, and Bitcoin it is a little different. There is no set time, and you can't do that. There's actually something on the Bitcoin network. The reason they put in something called the justice transaction, which prevents people from doing that, because both parties know the state of the channel and what's owed to the other person that's been sent. It's like automatically received. So if the other side lied, the node that's being cheated could publish the justice transaction, which causes you to take all the money in the payment channel onto your end. So it's a disincentive from cheating, so people don't cheat.
And so we're coming up on that. I should have said it a couple of minutes ago, but we're coming up on that 6 o'clock mark. So if anybody has any questions, if there's anything last minute they'd like to come up and ask, or lady, if you have another question, and I think we're going to close out the space.
Oh no, that was all. Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming, and thank you for everyone who watches these in the future. Please don't forget, if you could follow us at ledgerscale on Twitter and turn your notifications on so you know when we are going live. And if you could subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we're streaming these every single day from Twitter to YouTube.
Yeah, and we do appreciate everybody joining and your participation and questions. If you'd like to support us continuing these efforts, we have the crypto addresses for various networks pinned to the top of our profile at ledgerscale. And thank you for joining, and we'll be back tomorrow.
Yes, and listen, if you donate and you want your name on a shout out, please include username or whatever tag you would like in like a memo tag during the transaction. But thank you guys. Thank you everybody. Not everyone.